Good morning. My name is Sheila Gibbons. I'm the director of the Euclid Chamber of Commerce, and welcome everyone today. It's wonderful to see so many new faces here today, and we welcome you to the city of Euclid. I'd like to say a special thank you to our speakers for today. We have a very good presentation, and hopefully you'll walk away today with a lot of good information. I want to point out that if you did not get it, there is a handout on the table out there that has all of their bios, so we won't take the time to read through them today, but it has all their bios and all their follow-up information, so in case you need to contact them personally after, you're more than welcome to. We also have some information about the Chamber of Commerce. We have a lot of programming going on throughout the year, and you're always welcome to attend any of our things regardless of membership. And I also wanted to let you know, too, that our chamber office is now operating out of the greenhouse, which is a shared workspace here in Euclid. So if you're looking for a place to meet or rent out a conference room to meet with a client, feel free to contact me and we can get that set up for you. And I'd like to introduce next Mayor Kirsten Holzheimer-Gale.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Euclid. Welcome also to the library. The library asked me to extend their welcome to you, and we thank them for their partnership in hosting us today. Thank you to Sheila and the Chamber of Commerce. They've been a great partner, and the board members that are here, to pull together important events for our business community and for our residents. And so this is another great example of learning from the experts, bringing information to you, and also offering you the opportunity to get to know each other. So if there's a lot of brokers, business owners, lots of different elements that I think will benefit from today's presentation. So make sure you have a chance to introduce yourselves to each other. I want to introduce, if most of you I'm sure know, but Jonathan Holliday, stand up and make sure everyone knows Jonathan. If you are interested in a project here in Euclid, definitely reach out. We're happy to meet with you, talk with you. We will do tours. We will talk and brag about the great things happening here in Euclid to anyone that you would like for us to do that to. We're very fortunate. We feel very blessed to have 5 opportunity zones. We were nominated and we worked hard with many partners to have those approved last year by submitted by Governor Kasich, and then approved through the federal, sorry about this, maybe it's too close. And that's more than any suburb outside of Cleveland, so we're proud of that. And it really, we think, is based on, because there is so much growth happening, and we're really proud of the work that's happened over the last couple of years. We've seen Lincoln Electric expand with their with their welding technology training school, and their announcement to move over to the 3rd building at Bluestone with their additive welding division coming this year. So we're thrilled about that. Obviously, the demolition of Euclid Square Mall and Amazon Fulfillment Center coming, and the additional work and investment that we've seen because of that. They're on track to open in March, and so we're thrilled about that. If you haven't heard or don't know, Rockwell Building is now being occupied by Pension Benefit Guarantee Group, and they're working over the next couple of years to bring 5 of their centers here to Euclid, so the jobs will continue to grow there. And really, again, some of our small businesses and manufacturers continue to grow. Keene Building, American Punch, and working hard to welcome new retail and small offices around the city. So we're thrilled that you're here. We're thrilled that you're interested in taking advantage of the opportunity zones. We want to also acknowledge that the effort to get these tracks designated in Euclid really came about through a lot of hard work and partnership. We really want to thank the support that we received through Cuyahoga County, Team NEO and Greater Cleveland Partnership, Euclid Chamber of Commerce, Euclid City Council, our state representative Kent Smith, and our state senator Kenny Yuko, and many other local businesses and property owners who provided letters of support and helped advocate on our behalf. You will hear today the details about the Opportunity Zone program. We're really excited about the opportunity it presents, and we really think it will help us build on the solid foundation that we've been able to develop. So thank you for being here. I want to thank the partners. We've had the opportunity to work with Greater Cleveland Partnership, Team NEO, the county, and many developers on the projects that we already have in place. And so we're thrilled that they're here. I'm going to introduce first Stephanie Mercado, who we had worked with previously at Team NEO, and now has moved over to Corman Jackson Krantz. So Stephanie, welcome, and we look forward to hearing from you, and we'll look forward to the questions and interaction we can have at the end.
Good morning. Thank you so much, Mayor, and thank you so much to the Chamber for the invitation to come up here and speak today. My name's Stephanie Mercado. I'm with the law firm of Corman Jackson Krantz. I practice out of our economic development practice group. Prior to joining the firm for 10 years, I was out in the field working in economic development, most recently out of the Jobs Ohio Regional Office at Team Neo. Just a question before I get into my presentation. In terms of, so I can get a general idea of who I'm speaking with. How many of you are business owners all right. And then how many of you are investing in real estate? Okay, very good. So I'm going to give a brief overview of kind of the legal and technical aspects of opportunity zone investment. Just a couple of caveats. I'm going to be talking specifically about it from a real estate investment standpoint because there's not final regulations out from a business investment standpoint, from an operational standpoint. We don't feel comfortable advising our clients until those final regulations are out. So mainly everything that I'm talking about today is going to be designated towards real estate investment. So just an overview of opportunity zones. They're designated to attract private sector investment in low-income communities, and they're a direct way to reinvest capital gains in distressed communities while deferring tax payments on the aforementioned capital gains. It's actually the first new national community development and investment program that has occurred in 15 years. Brief map of the zones in Cuyahoga County, which I know Paul will be talking about a little bit later, but just from a high level, the benefits of investing in opportunity zones is that taxpayers can get capital gains tax deferral for making timely investments in qualified opportunity funds, which invest in a qualified opportunity zone business. So the two things that we're going to mainly talk about next is kind of looking at the formation of opportunity funds and qualified opportunity zone businesses. But before we get into the structuring, the question is what is the tax benefit of investing in an opportunity zone? So there's three different types of tax benefits. The first is that if you've realized or if you had a capital gain within 180 days and you invested into an opportunity zone, you can get tax deferral on that. It would occur, the time period in which that deferral is measured from, it's that either when your fund is sold or exchanged or by 12/31/2026. So at the latest point in time in terms of if you're deferring your gain, it would be till 12/31/2026. If you hold the investment for 5 years, you can have a reduction in your basis of 10%, and then if you hold it for an additional 7 years, you can get another decrease in that would take it to 15%. So let's just use real numbers. If you put $1 million in of what was going to be subject to capital gains, and you hold it for 5 years, then at the end of the measuring period, you're only paying capital gains on $900,000. If you hold it for additional 7 years, you're paying it on $850,000. So that's how, but depending on how long you hold it, is that you can get that benefit in terms of changing what your basis is. The additional exemption on additional gains, so let's take that same $1 million that you put into the real estate. If you hold it for a period of 10 years, while you're still paying on the initial investment, that million that you put into it, let's say that you sell it then for $2 million. That additional $1 million that you've made off of it is not subject to capital gains. So there's long-term benefit for holding on to the property. I mean, there's risk. You don't know if you're going to make that money off of it, but just to understand what the benefits are. From a timing standpoint, though, kind of going back to that 5 and 7 year period, if you don't, if kind of going back from 2026, you miss out on the 5 or 7 year period, let's say you're getting into the program a little bit later, it still doesn't preclude you from holding the property for that additional 10 years if you think you're going to get, if you're going to make money off of it, to have the additional exemption for tax on the gains. So to benefit from this, if you're interested in investing, as I said, you've got to, once you realize the gain, you've got to invest it within 180 days, and you'd have to do that through a vehicle called a qualified opportunity fund. Some people are setting them up project specific, some people are investing in funds that you're investing in, and they're making the decisions as to where to put your money at. From a statutory perspective, that it's got to be a corporation or a partnership. It's got to be formed for the purpose of investing in an opportunity zone. And then there's also a 90% asset test, where 90% of the assets of the fund have to be invested in, as I said, in the zone. And there's 6-month measuring period, so it's tested every 6 months. There's some draft forms out there right now in discussion of what the test period looks like, but because this is new, there's not a final decision of how that testing looks like. Similar, that the funds are self-certified, so the IRS also has a draft form available, but it's not a final form. What you would attach to your tax return is setting up the form to certify that you meet the requirements. If you don't meet the requirements, there is a non-compliance penalty, which is basically your shortfall multiplied by the underpayment rate on your capital gains. And that's what I actually just talked about, so. Then there's two types of entities that then the opportunity fund can invest into. One is a qualified opportunity zone business, and then we're going to talk about qualified opportunity zone business property. But just from a high level standpoint, I'm not going to go through all of this in detail, but you can know that you have to make the investment after 12/31/17. There's still a kind of that organizational requirement that we talked about, the opportunity fund, that's got to be made for the purpose of investing in an opportunity zone. And then from a property standpoint, kind of similar, you've got to make the investment after 12/31/2017. So if you're investing in real estate, you've got to acquire it. The property, it has to be from an unrelated party after 12/31/17. Another component of investing from a real estate perspective is that the original use of the building has to commence. It's either original use commences through the use of the funds, so I like to think of that as new construction, or that the taxpayer will substantially improve the building within 30 months after acquisition. So it's either looking at, original use as new construction, or that you've got basically a 30-month window to make your improvements into your property if you've acquired a vacant facility. So what does all this mean? So maybe I can apply it towards a recent project that we just worked on. And it was recently in cleveland.com, so you can look it up and you can get some of the information out of it. We had 2 clients that wanted to invest in acquiring basically a city block in the city of Cleveland, which was located between Payne Superior, East 21st, and East 22nd. While some of the property was acquired through a land swap, most of it was acquired through setting up an opportunity fund. So we had 2 investors, both had capital gains that they wanted to defer. So we were able to set up the opportunity fund. They both contributed equity, so it has to be all cash going in at a 50-50 split. And that through setting up holding companies were able to acquire a couple of buildings, mainly fronting here on Superior. So now this investor group will have to make, once again, those substantial improvements within 30 months. So the clock is ticking on us right now. But this is just an example of something we were able to set up. We were able to acquire the property, once again, after 12/31/17, for the purpose of investing in an opportunity zone, and now we've got a 30-month period to make the improvements on the property. Currently trying to determine what the highest and best end use is for it. So talking through a couple of different scenarios in terms of how we can redevelop the property. But, so while the opportunity funds and opportunity zone made this acquisition able to happen and had the investor groups were interested in taking on a riskier project, this is quite a large undertaking here. It doesn't preclude the project from working with other types of economic development incentives. So I know that Vince and Paul are going to talk a little bit more about the work that's being done at the local level that would make investing, that there's a full-scale approach in terms of looking at how to help real estate development projects move forward. So I guess I'll turn it over.
Morning, everybody. Vince Adamas. I work with forget your names, right? I think Sheila said also she's giving everybody our contact information, so you guys should have it. Thanks for having us this morning. We appreciate it. Always happy to come out. As the mayor mentioned, we are super supportive of projects here in Euclid. We work with the mayor, Jonathan, on all sorts of projects. And a lot of great companies here that are in our target markets. We work with Jobs Ohio and the state to determine a number of target industries around the state that we focus on, and there's a lot of them are represented here in Euclid. Probably not to any surprise of any of you, but big economic generators, so we do a lot of activity here. Greater Cleveland Partnership, just super quick, we're a regional chamber of commerce. We've got over 11,500 members. Cozy is part of us. And because of the size, we focus on more as what you would typically think of as an economic development agency than a chamber. We've got all these different areas that we focus on. Advocacy, in other words, we've got folks in Columbus and DC working on legislation to impact and improve the economic environment of Northeast Ohio, infrastructure, physical development, because without infrastructure, roads, bridges, sewers, water, you name it, we can't operate as a region. So we recognize how important it is and work with RTA and everybody on developing those. We divide our companies, our members, into small business, middle markets, and major accounts. We focus on economic inclusion, workforce development. You know, I know some of you are in real estate here, and the old joke used to be, what are the three most important factors in real estate and determining, the development? It's location, 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 1, 2, and 3. As we've been doing company outreach over the last really 5 to 7 years, what we've been hearing is the three most important factors are workforce, workforce, and workforce. So we know that. Everybody around the state understands it. We're really trying to focus on that now. Global connectivity is sort of the economic environment that we operate in, and economic development and business growth and development, which is my piece, focusing on business outreach and working on development projects, helping people like you work on real estate development and business development projects. So just a little quick, I'm going to focus on how did we get here as a region, and then where are we going from here, and then Paul will take it away and talk about some of the incentives and other activities that we collectively work on to assist projects. Just real briefly, the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act created as part of it the Opportunity Zone system. The idea is to bring tax incentives for investments in targeted census tracts that would then be designated as opportunity zones. In order for the census tract to qualify to be considered as an opportunity zone, it had to meet eligibility for new markets tax credits, a federal program that we dabble in. We get a new markets tax credit allocation at GCP through our real estate affiliate called Cleveland Development Advisors. And we typically get an annual allocation, some millions of dollars that we can use to support real estate development projects in the area. So that in order to be considered smartly, I felt they took off from the New Markets Tax Credits program, which basically focuses on low to moderate income census tracts and looking at there. Or they could have been adjacent to New Markets Tax Credit eligible census tracts. And I've got some maps that'll clear this up a little bit. What we did is Greater Cleveland Partnership, Cuyahoga County, Fund for Economic Future worked on soliciting proposals from the communities. I sent out to all the first suburbs communities, City of Cleveland, said, hey, there's this new program out there that the feds have enacted. Use this form and tell us which census tracts you want to focus on to have opportunity zone status. So the communities all sent back their proposals. You know, we think this census tract makes sense because this, and this. And what we were looking for was really a marriage of opportunity with issues. So they had to be low to moderate income census tracts and had to have some problems affiliated with it, but there also had to be some opportunity there. So if you looked at a census tract that was all problems and no opportunities, wasn't a really good candidate. You're probably not going to see a lot of investment over the next few years. If on the other hand, you look at a census tract where there's all these opportunities, but not really the need, you don't need a program like this to come in and facilitate projects. We didn't want that either. So folks in census tracts that were in that middle area. So we took the forms, came up with recommendations. Greater Cleveland Partnership and the county each sent recommendations off to the governor's office. And the governor basically chose the final census tracts. Each state was allowed to pick half as many census tracts as they had eligible New Markets Tax Credit census tracts. All right, does that make sense? So if there were 100 New Markets Tax Credit eligible census tracts in the state, the governor was allowed to pick 50 of those for opportunity zone status. So just to give you an idea in the region here, this is essentially Cuyahoga County. The red and the yellow are all, the red is actually what's called severe distress and the yellow is called eligible. So really the red and the yellow are all the census tracts in the county that were eligible or that are eligible for New Markets Tax Credit projects. So we had a pretty big playing field to choose from, right? And remember, you could also choose census tracts that were adjacent. So frankly, there's very few census tracts when you throw that last piece in around the county that could not be considered for opportunity zone status. So what we came out with, the recommendations to the governor, the red census tracts here, I hope you could see it okay, are the ones that were recommended to the governor but not chosen. And the green census tracts are the ones that were recommended to the governor and ultimately were chosen for opportunity zone status. And I've got another map that shows just the green parts a little later on. But, you know, again, this was in very high demand. Everybody looked at this and said, hey, there could be some significant investment opportunities here. Let's see what we can get. So this is just Euclid. And I know you've got it on one of your handouts as well. But as the mayor mentioned, there are 5 census tracts in Euclid that were chosen to be opportunity zones. These are now federal designations. So in other words, the governor has recommended, the feds have accepted. And I had somebody ask me a question, oh, you know, this census tract over here wasn't picked. Is there an appeal process? No. You know, it would basically take an act of Congress at this point to change this. And because everything's moving so quickly this year and over the next couple years, you never say never where a lot of things are concerned, right? But it's super unlikely that there'll be another go-around, at least in the next 3 to 5 years, to look at census tracts. So pretty much what you see is what you get. The census tracts that have been approved as opportunity zones are what's approved. But the nice thing about Euclid, all of these census tracts that were chosen really capture most of the opportunities, most of the big opportunities. Bluestone, the Amazon site, Euclid corridor, the rail corridors through Euclid. There's a lot of opportunity here. Some of it's starting to realize already based on the projects, but we'll be able to get a lot more based on this program. So what are we doing going forward? Greater Cleveland Partnership, the county, all these folks, City of Cleveland, Fund for an Economic Future, Cleveland Development Advisors, which I mentioned is our real estate affiliate, George Gunn Foundation, Cleveland Land Bank, are all working on how do we maximize the investment potential for this region, right? So I'm an investor, I've got, whether it's $1 million or $100 million in capital gains that I'm going to be looking at, I'm going to want to invest them somewhere that makes sense, that allows me not only to take advantage of the tax benefits from this law, but, will be a good, healthy economic project and get some returns for me. We have local folks who, of course, are going to look local, but there's a lot of national players who aren't going to care if it's in Cleveland or Milwaukee or Kansas City. So we need to get out there as a region and start marketing ourselves to that national environment. So what we're doing is we're in the process of creating a website to brag about what's going on here in Greater Cleveland, to act as an intake process for investors and funds out there. And we're also going to be creating a matching platform that if you're a project, if you're an investor, if you're a fund, if you're a business or a property owner, you go into this portal, put in your information, somebody else is putting the information that wants to connect with you, and we'll be able to use that portal to start connecting investors with potential projects. So this is all things that we're working on now. We're putting this together as we speak over the next month or so. We'll be able to roll this out. The other big piece that we're working on is a prospectus. In other words, a flashy marketing piece that we'll have, really we'll use digitally. It'll be on the website. We can share it around, and we're going to focus on, here's all the cool things going on in Greater Cleveland, and then we're going to have a subsection for each of the sections of opportunity zones. So we'll have Euclid, here's what's going on, and here's 2 pages, what's going on in Euclid. Here's some potential projects if you're an investor to look at. So the more we can ramp up the opportunities for folks to come to spend the money here rather than somewhere else, that's what we're looking for. Here's a map. It's hard to see the details. I could send this all digitally. If you guys are interested, let me know. But because the opportunity zones, the census tracts that were picked, we're trying to make some logical clusters, right? There's one out by Cleveland Hopkins Airport that's all on its own, so that's going to be its own cluster. There's some in the southeast area around Warrensville Heights, Maple Heights, Bedford Heights that makes sense to market as one. And then we've got the ones up in the northeast section, Euclid, and there's a couple that are adjacent in Cleveland. We'll probably package all those together and talk about that as one opportunity zone sub-area as well. So that's what we're going to be focusing on, is the marketing of all of this. Again, try and maximize the investment, the opportunities that are here, and capture some of the investment that's going on out there. So that's me. You've got my information. We'll be here for questions, and Paul's up next.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Paul Herdig. I direct strategic planning for the Cuyahoga County Department of Development, and I bring you greetings from County Executive Armand Budish and our Chief Economic Development Officer, Ted Carter. I'm just thrilled to see such a great turnout here in the Euclid area. We know that people are engaged. We know that there's both business owners and real estate developers in the room, and I hope to leave you with a little bit of information and perhaps a call to action that will help both groups of people. So I'm going to skip right to my punchline and tell you the call to action is, if you need money to grow your business, or if you need money for a real estate deal, do not be shy, ask for help. You can contact the City of Euclid, you can contact Cuyahoga County, you can contact the Greater Cleveland Partnership. There is no wrong door. We talk to each other, and we will try to match you up with appropriate resources, sources of money. This morning, we have news about a resource that might be available if your business is in one of these opportunity zones. But we do have help for all businesses and all potential real estate deals, so don't be shy. Now I'll dive into opportunity zones. First, I'm supposed to tell you that Cuyahoga County has a mission and a vision. We actually do. When Executive Budish came on, we went through a rather thoughtful process of reimagining the county's mission and vision. And what's new here is we're focusing on assisting with business growth in a way that hasn't always been the case for county government. The voters said we should, we take it seriously, it's woven into our mission, our vision, and some of our strategic goals. If you look at our first three goals, they all have to do with growth, economic growth, business growth. That's clearly top of mind for Cuyahoga County. And if you look at our economic opportunity vertical, we look at having residents have a path to upward mobility. That means jobs, residents having jobs. Businesses create jobs. So business is important to us all the way around. The Department of Development, where I work, is charged with furthering this county's mission. We not only help businesses financially, we also have a workforce innovation unit, which I'll come back to in a minute. But we really try to work with our city partners, our private sector partners, to help our businesses grow by getting them all the resources they need. Here's the map we've talked about a couple times. Again, the message this morning is a good chunk of Euclid is able to benefit by this new tax benefit. I have to mention, because I work for the county, we own a little airport nearby, and we'd love to talk to you about some land we own there as well. But I also want to point out that there's zones right in the city of Cleveland, right across the border. So this truly is a regional effort to help businesses grow. All right, now the meat. As Cuyahoga County thought about what we could do to help support growth of businesses in these opportunity zones, we're trying to line up the work we do with the plans we have for economic development and housing. Second point is we're really trying to help deals that have social impact. What does that mean? Well, we're still working out the details, but the punchline is jobs. You know, a transaction that's going to result in a new business or a growing business that's going to create good quality jobs that are accessible to people is a transaction we want to support. What we love about Euclid is people can get here. There's bus service. People from Glenville can get to work in Euclid. You don't have to take 4 buses, you take 1 bus. So for that reason, it's likely that a project located here in Euclid is going to be one we like because the jobs it creates are going to be in a place where people can get to those jobs. RTA is already putting in new stops for the Amazon distribution centers. They can react and respond, help people get to work. We work with our partners, talked about that already, Greater Cleveland Partnership, and we want to put county resources in as part of a combination to help a business grow or a real estate deal come together. So what does that mean? What are the things that the county actually can do to help business? The first thing I want to mention is that we do have an approach to helping with workforce, which is new, it's fresh, it's exciting, it has already paid off for some businesses, and we work with businesses of all sizes, whether you're a small retail business, whether you're hospitality, manufacturer. We've helped a number of businesses, both small and mid-size, solve their talent problems by looking at how they can recruit and train and retain the skilled workers everybody needs. So as you're a growing business looking for talent, as you're putting a real estate deal together and the business you're looking for as a tenant, wants to be assured they can find the talent they need, our office can help. We're tapped into the whole network of the workforce system here, but we take a business-friendly approach to us. So we want to help in that way. The second thing we do traditionally at Cuyahoga County is we make low-interest loans. We loan into real estate projects, but we also loan directly to businesses. So we've been doing this for a long time, and what we want to do for projects located in these zones, these tracts, is make sure we make the right kind of loan to make the deal work. So if we need to do a below market interest rate loan to make your deal work so the equity can come in and get its rate of return at once, we will try to do that. If you're a growing business and we need to make you a working capital loan or a loan to acquire a piece of equipment, we'll underwrite and we won't impose on you a burden of debt heavier than you can bear. We will work with your other partners as well. We are typically a lender who fills a gap. We'll typically come into a deal, some money from the bank, some money from somewhere else. We come and fill a gap, but our money comes in cheap. And in some cases, we can even sweeten the pot by making our loans partly forgivable. And we really do this for a couple reasons. One is if there's land to be cleaned up, and we know the cost of cleaning up that land is possibly going to be a sunk cost, We will come in and help the real estate people with money to clean up the land, and we'll say to them, at the end of the project, if you create the jobs you said you'd create, we'll look at forgiving part of that loan. The second time we might do this is if we have a chance to attract a company from out of the area, new to Cuyahoga County, that brings in some really high-quality jobs. We might look at making that be a partly forgivable loan. So there's a number of ways we can do our loans, and I think what I'd like to leave you with is that we are a source of financing, not your only source, but a source to work with if you're putting a deal together. So call us. In terms of the big money deals, we can issue tax-exempt bonds. Those weren't as important when interest rates were low. Now interest rates are starting to come back up again. It's a way that someone putting a large project together can lower their cost of money. So we'll do that both for housing development and for business growth. And finally, we can do very favorable loans for affordable housing. Even though right now what we're talking about this morning is a business program, it won't be long before someone finds a way to turn it into a housing program. So the developers out there, keep your ears open because you may see deals like that. That really, in a nutshell, are the kinds of things that Cuyahoga County wants to do to help businesses grow and make real estate deals in these zones. My call to action is, don't be silent. If you have a deal that needs help, tell us about it. Tell Jonathan, tell us at Cuyahoga County, tell Vince and his team at the Greater Cleveland Partnership. Don't assume that we can't help because we may find a way to help. As Stephanie said, right now the action's in real estate, but very soon there's going to be action in business growth as well. Why do I know this? Because the way this tax break is structured, people with money want to make their investments this year. They get the biggest break, as Stephanie kind of mentioned, if they do their deal this year. So as soon as the federal government reopens, which it will, and as soon as the U.S. Treasury puts out its rules we've been waiting for, which it will, you're going to see a flurry of activity. You're going to see equity funds interested in coming to invest in growing businesses. So what you should do now to position yourself is tell us about your business's need for money to grow so that we can be ready to match you up with these folks when the money becomes available. I'm going to stop here. Don't want to take too much time, but in the question period, if you want, I can delve a little deeper into that. Thank you.
Hey, guys. I'm Elliot Kievsky with Cushman & Wakefield, Cresco Real Estate, sales broker. I think, number one, thanks everybody from Euclid for having us here, and great to see everybody in the ice and the sleet and whatever we want to call it. It's January. As these three professionals had mentioned before, we're all kind of trying to get our arms around this scenario here. And when I was asked to speak about the Opportunity Zone, they're your professionals, your tax folks are your professionals. I'm actually going to tell you where the opportunity might be and kind of just do a quick review of the Euclid market. As once again, this is a real estate program, and although the greater Cleveland market and the general consensus around the United States is that the industrial markets and office markets are doing quite well, they are doing quite well, but there are certainly opportunity in Euclid for real estate in these opportunity areas. And quick thing, our current market conditions, the Cleveland employment level slightly near the United States. Market indicators, we have it going down slightly, but that is less than 1/10 of a percentage point. So overall, Cleveland's looking good and continue to look better. One of our big concerns is our net absorption and overall asking rent. Those are also improving. City of Euclid does have the advantage of the Amazon project as well as the Bluestone projects. Those have certainly been new construction and have changed the absorption rates. If you break it down as we get into the city of Cleveland, you'll find that the office market changes because there's been so many apartment conversions. So there's a reason behind drastic, but overall there has been growth. Overall vacancy, historical average is about 6%, which is pretty good. This is something interesting to note here. And this 3.9% overall vacancy rate in the Northeast, that's our Euclid area, that is a big factor due to Amazon and Bluestone. Here's really where your opportunity is, though. If you look along this section of Euclid here, there are some buildings available. There's definitely some what I want to call opportunities that you can combine properties and really create something new of all of this. Personally, my real estate professional folks out here, I went through some recent comparables of last year and kind of just, there's a very convenient website, and I'll make sure that everybody has that. You can type in an address, it'll tell you instantly if you're in the opportunity zone or not. So if you bought something in 2017, 2018, look up that address. There may be more opportunity your way. This is the net absorption of Euclid, 102,000 last year. The decrease, this will all be sent out to you electronically. Overall, things are good, but you can kind of see flatlining for our forecast. This opportunity zone definitely could change that. There's one great opportunity somebody took advantage of. That's the former Euclid Square Mall. And that's it. I'm going to be around for questions, answers. Thanks for having me.
All right, thank you, everyone. Elliot, I also want to thank you and your team for being a sponsor for today and for helping to provide all the food, so thank you very much for that. And also thank you to the library for hosting us. We're going to go ahead and open it up for questions. I do want to point out, you guys, a couple of you mentioned that we can send it electronically. If you registered and I have your email address on file, I'm happy to send it to you. If you were a walk-in today or a last minute and I don't have your email address, please give me a card on the way out and I'm happy to add you to the list.